Ano kang me pala.
Hi, Kariman.
Maybe sa ano na last week nga na yung selection na
Oh, personal.
person everybody no na link na mana na screen individual na ko ya mana aba na screen ya nwa na all pieces bugo dia bi de be mana de All right, welcome everybody. Thank you all for being in attendance. We are going to start. Last time we started by explaining the concept of a business. We explained the concept of policy, and we stopped at explaining the concept of strategic management in our last session. So today we're going to be talking about strategic management and some other related concepts. So let's start in earnest. Okay, for those that are joining us, please mute yourself once you join. We don't need to hear your voice, just listen. When you have a question, go to the question and answer session or parts of the Oh man. Everyone was on that answer it. For me, this man. Like I said, what do we mean by strategic management? Strategic management means the set of decisions and actions that result in the formulation and implementation of plans designed to achieve a company's objectives. So strategic management involves of activities, that is strategy formulation, strategy implementation.
Sir, I'm not hearing you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Strategy implementation and strategy analysis. I hope you can hear me.
Sir, I cannot hear you very well, sir.
Maybe the network.
Yeah.
It may be the network, so see if you can adjust where you.
Okay.
Right. Maybe it's on my side, but let's see how it goes. Okay. Hi. But I said actions and action, formulation, and implementation of plans designed to achieve a company's objective. It involves the process of three main key activities: strategy formulation, the second, strategy analysis, and the third is strategy implementation. Now, management typical tasks. The first is the form the company's definition, all right? The second is to conduct an analysis that reflects the company's internal conditions. The next is the company's options, matching its resources with the external environment. What is assess external environment? To assess the company's external environment. Identify the most desirable option when evaluating each option in light of company vision. The sixth is to select a set of long-term objectives and grand strategies that will achieve the most desirable options. And the seventh is to develop annual objectives and short-term strategies that are compatible with the selected set of long-term objective and grand strategies. You see, these are the strategic management tasks, critical tasks that strategic management are involved in. They are also involved in the implementation of these strategies and the choice by which the budget resources are being allocated. They are the ones that make that choices at that point, and they try matching these taxes, the people and the structure and the technologies that are involved in all this process. They try to evaluate the success of the strategic process as an input for future decision making. Now, what are the levels of strategy? Strategy can be at the level of at the company level, which is basically the CEOs are in charge, the board of directors and administrative officers are in charge at this particular level. That's the company level. Now, strategy at business level, it is the business and corporate managers that are concerned at this point. And then we have strategy at the functional level. So we have three levels of strategy at the company level, the business level, and the functional level. Now, each of these levels have some characteristic elements that are attributed to strategy at this level. So at the corporate level, which is the company level, there's great risk attached to strategic management because whatever they do tend to affect the entire organization. So there's a greater risk at this level, and there are greater costs and greater profit potentials for this kind of strategies. Then greater need for flexibility, the longer term horizons. These are the unique characteristics of strategic management at the corporate or company level. Then we have the functional level, that is the the business manager or corporate manager level. At this particular level, the strategic management is characterized by short-range decisions. They have low risk at this point. It is modest. Strategic management is modest at this level. The cost is modest at this level, and they depend on the available resources. Then we have acceptable to an ongoing activity. So the strategy at this point and our strategic management is at this functional level is relatively concrete and quantifiable. So what people are doing at the functional level can easily be rated. You can measure it if they are getting what you plan or you seek to get them to do. Now, at the business level, it's less costly, it's less risky, it's potentially profitable at the business level. So what is an organization? An organization can be described or could be seen as a collection of people who come together to pool their resources in order to achieve both individual and collective goals. Organization can or could also be seen as one of the functional objectives of management. What are the basic elements that make up an organization? The basic elements that make up an organization are one, technology, that is the science that enables the organization to achieve its objectives. So it could be the science of technology, like the computer you use, the kind of technology you use for production, the equipment you use, and all that. Then we also have another element, the participants, who are the players within the organization. Now, what is the next is the goals of the organization, and then the environment of the organization. These are the four basic elements of an organization. What are the functions of management in an organization? One, choosing and maintaining a viable technology. If an organization is supposed to be producing, let's say, for example, phones. It is the function of management in that organization to choose and maintain the technology used for that production process. Number two, identifying the task environment and having the capacity to satisfy the demands of the task environment. This is a function of management in an organization. The next is identifying the contingencies and constraints of the task environment due to continuous change. So it's a function of management to do this. It's also the function of management to understand the changes in technology and cause-effect relationships that change. For example, the technology used in producing a phone, once it starts changing, is the function of management to identify that that technology has changed, the one they are using has changed, and they need to adopt a newer technology. It's the function of management to protect the technical core of organization from environmental uncertainties and contingencies. Also, is a function of management to develop and maintain organizational structure consistent with the technological requirements. Of course, you know, once you change the technology you use in production, the structure will change as well. If your company is labor intensive and you switch to maybe computer usage or technological usage, it's going to change the entire structure of the organization. It's also the function of management to identify the three types of coordination and designing effective, and it is their function to design effective communication network. It's the function of management to assess and evaluate organizational performance. It's the function of management to design incentive strategies for the organization and maintenance of human variables. It is the function of management to formulate goals, objectives, and making effective decisions, controlling and directing action towards goal attainment. So you see, the function of management is quite enormous. What are the types of organizations that they are? We have formal organization. Of course, when you hear we have formal organization, on the opposite side, it means we have informal organization as well. So formal organization, this is authorized organizations created or founded with a well-defined objective. It has an official and approved structure of relationship among the people. Please take note of that. Defined objective, approved structure of relationship among the people. What is the characteristics of a formal organization? The first characteristics of a formal organization from that definition is easy to understand, is that there's an existence of a structure. Second, organizational objective. There must be an objective the organization is out to solve, and that objective is known to all. Number three, relationship prescribed by management. There must be a relationship. There must be terms of how people relate within the organization. Now, informal organization. This is an unapproved or unofficial organization. Informal organization usually emerges from formal organization. This implies that informal organizations cannot exist without formal organizations. What are the benefits of informal organizations? One is support of organizational goals. We can, by way of illustration, say that, for example, in an organization, the organization is a formal organization, and within the formal organization, people try to congregate informally here and there. Of course, one way or the other, or invariably, they will support the organizational goal in one way or the other. Number two, benefit of informal organization is that it helps in the motivation and control of employees. So within an organization that's a formal organization, you have informal organizations inside it that congregate for several reasons. Maybe they just congregate because they want to form a committee of friends because somebody's wedding or something. It's just an organization that's not formal. They tend to motivate and control employees. Another benefit of informal organization is it provides additional means of communication. It provides additional means of congregation. It is a means of social satisfaction. It is a means of social satisfaction. Compensation for managers who lack inability to relate with others exists in an informal organization. All right. What are the demerits? What are the demerits of informal organization? One, it encourages rumor mongering, which could be destructive. Number two, resistance to change. Number three, groups conformity. That is both good and bad. You see that the group tends to conform to different things. So the disadvantage of informal organization is that it encourages rumor mongering, and that can be destructive. It can encourage resistance to change, because when they have such an organization, they can by that organization plan how to resist change. Then by number three is that groups conformity, both good and bad, they tend to conform to both good and bad qualities here and there. Now, organization as a function, let's talk about that now. Organization as a function. Elements of organization as a function. There are four elements of organization as a function. The first one is objective. There's the objective as it's number one. Number two is the structure of the organization. And number three is the authority of that organization and the people making up number four. So the four elements of organization as a function is therefore objective, structure, authority, and people. Now, what is the process of organizing? Because every organization must be organizing something. One, the first process
Turn off your camera. Turn off your camera to save data. Can you hear me? Look down there, you see a mic button and a video button at your bottom left. All right.
Okay, sorry, the network was really bad. Like I was saying, the process of organizing, the first step in the process of organizing is establishment of objective. The second step of the process of organizing is the formulation of derivation of objective policies and plans. And number three there is identification and classification of activities necessary to accomplish these objectives that have been derived. Number four is grouping of activities. Number five is delegating of function. Number six is tying the groups either horizontally or vertically. You tie them so that they can function as a system. Now, organization as structure. Structure is a framework upon which the organization will run. Types of organizational structure. We have the line organizational structure and we have the line and staff organizational structure. What does the line organization structure mean? The line organizational structure is the simplest and the most traditional form of organizational structure. In this structure, authority flows in a straight line from top management to the lowest levels, with each level having direct control over the level beneath it. This structure is most suitable for small organizations where the functions are straightforward and require little specialized input. The key characteristics of this particular structure is that there's a clear chain of command. That is, the line of command is clear. Centralized authority, there's simple, and this authority is simple and direct. This particular structure is also simple and direct. It's easy to understand, and everyone has a sense of responsibility. Now, the next structure, organizational structure, is the line and staff organizational structure. The line and staff organizational structure is an extension of the line structure, adding a layer of specialized staff functions. In this structure, while line managers maintain authority over day-to-day operations, staff departments such as the human resource department, the marketing department, the finance department, the production department provide specialized advice or support and services to line managers. The key characteristics of this particular structure is that there's line functions, there's staff functions, there's dual authority, and there's consultation involved. Now, what are the principles of good organization? The first principle of good organization is division of work. Work is divided according to maybe specialties or expertise. Number two is discipline. Discipline must be maintained in a good organization. Order must be maintained in a good organization. There's unity of command. As management students, we should understand this. There's unity of direction. The scalar chain exists, and there's equity as a good principle of organization. We also have subordination of individuals to group interests in a case where the group interest supersedes the individual's personal interest. Then we have initiative. Everybody has to bring his own idea to the table. Then remuneration. Every effort that is put within an organization should be remunerated, should be compensated for. Then authority and responsibility exists in a good organization. Then we have centralization. Then we have stability of tenure, spirit, the core. Now, there are resources needed in an organization. What kind of resources are needed in an organization? Every organization requires physical resources, organizational resources, intellectual resources, financial resources, technological resources, and reputational resources. Let me just explain some of them a bit so you can get the point on what they mean. Now, physical resources are those physical things the organization require to function. Of course, if human beings are going to congregate to produce something, they will require tables, chairs, a building, a space. These are physical. You can touch them. These are resources you need. Raw materials, they are there. Then we have organizational resources, requirements, resources the organization require to function. Then intellectual resources. Of all of them, if you don't have the intellectual capacity to manage the men and the resources as management, you will be failing as an organization. You are not a good organization. So the intellect to function within an organization is always needed, the intellect. Then finances, of course, money is needed at every point in time in an organization to purchase either raw material or to pay for staff remuneration or taxes and all that. So finances are required. Then the technology to function is also required, the equipment, the computers and all that. Then reputational resource. That is the integrity, the trust, the honesty that goes with an organization, and reputational resources an organization requires to function. Now let's talk about marketing policy. What is marketing? Marketing is the process of identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customers' requirements profitably. That's a very simple definition. So the marketing concept, this is the process of identifying the needs of customers before production takes place. So it is that identified need of the customer that will drive production. All right, that will drive production. Now, what is the elements of marketing concept? The first element, there is the consumer orientation. The second is integrated organization. And the third is long-term profit. These are the elements that make up the marketing concept. Now, what are the thinking mindsets? What are the mindsets that drives marketing? The philosophies before marketing concept are the production concept, the product concept, the selling concept, the marketing concept, and the social concept. This philosophy existed before the marketing concept, where goods were produced before they were sold. People are not convinced to buy them, or products have been produced before people are made to buy them. So these are some philosophies that have existed before the marketing concept. The marketing concept is different from that concept in that it is the process that goes first to identify the need of the customer before production is gone into to satisfy that need. That's what the marketing concept is all about. Now, the major problem with the marketing concept is how to identify or specify markets or target markets. How do you do that? Because that's one of the major problems of the marketing. How to approach and keep up with the change or the changes in the market. Of course, you see these days clothes that our forefathers used to wear that became obsolete and people didn't like to wear them are now clothes that people are now wearing now. As a marketing personnel, you should understand the trend and what is changing and the direction the trend and changes are going. And that is the challenge, identifying this target market, identify the specifics in the market, identify the approaches that are trending and the ones that are fading off. Now, what is the function of marketing? For one, searching for buyers and sellers and bringing them into the business contact. Number two, matching goods, services, and other market offerings to needs of customers. Number three, finding out an acceptable price for marketing offering. Number four, informing buyers and sellers and convincing them to purchase. Number five, transferring and storing when necessary. Of course, you know, of the marketing function, there is a function of storage. And then lastly, we have stimulation of production. Stimulation of production. Now, marketing mix. We are very conversant with this. We've talked about this in some previous sessions. Marketing mix is the controllable factors which marketers use to achieve their business objectives. Marketing mix includes the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. So it's the controllable factors which marketers use to achieve their business objectives. Now, another concept that is related here is what we refer to as market segmentation. This has to do with breaking the market into different segments as a result of the heterogeneity of the market. Everybody, every customer, every consumer are not the same. So you have to break that market into different segments so as to attend to each segment properly. Now, what is the basis for segmentation? You could segment the market geographically. That is, you can segment it as regions, as states, as country, as a town, as subcultures, as climate or population. According to density, you could segregate geographically according to these variables. You can also segregate according to personality. According to personality, we can also segregate according to socioeconomics status of the people living there, rich, the poor, and so on. Another basis of another basis for segmentation is buyer behavior. You know, there are people that buy things once they come into the market. There are those that we call them the innovators. We have the early starters and all that, early adopters and all that, the laggards are the last. So what is the buying behavior of your customers? You can segregate according or in that line. Okay, still on our policy, let's talk about product policy. Let's talk about product policy. Now, product policy is a set of guidelines which a firm uses to guide decisions and actions concerning its product or product mix. It provides a focus or direction on the product as an important element of the marketing mix. So product differentiation, this is the way of making a product different from other products of its kind. So you are producing milk, so you try to differentiate your own milk in its own way. So that's what we call product differentiation. Now, ways to add to organization's product line. You can add to organizational product line by modification of existing product that you innovate. You have, presently you sell, like they call it, button phones that have buttons. But because the trend has passed button phones, you innovate by modifying your phones, which is an existing product, to touch screen, to smartphones. So that is one way to add to the organizational product line. Another way to add to the organizational product line is addition of complementary goods that try to put or add value to other goods. You sell tires, so you sell wheels. So complementary, tires and wheels, they go together. You sell lamps, you sell fuel, they go together. Now, another way is entry into an existing market new to the firm. You can go to an existing market that's new to the firm. Another is development of a new market by introducing a new product, something entirely new that nobody had been using before. You develop something like that. Now, what are the stages in new product development? The first stage in new product development is identification of new product idea. Once the idea has been conceptualized, then you screen the idea. It's called screening of the idea. After the screening of the idea has been done, you've removed things that you think may not work, and you've included what will work, you've screened it properly, you evaluate. The next stage is evaluation of market potential and possible contribution of that idea. So after that evaluation, you go and produce a prototype. It's called prototype development. That is what you will show people that this thing, this particular product will solve this particular problem. Then you test your marketing. You try to go to the market and try and sell. Then finally, you commercialize such new product. So these are the stages in new product development. Now, basic requirement for new products. First basic requirement for a new product is the ideal new product. The ideal new product would come within the company's manufacturing and technical resources. The product must possess some advantage over the present products. It would use the company's present strength of distribution to take advantage of existing goodwill of the firm. So these are basic requirements. The new product is not just going to establish its own new structure upon which it will run. It's going to be based on the company's manufacturing and technical resources that's existing. It's going to be based on the advantages the company already has presently, or the present product the company has is enjoying. It's also going to be based on the company's present strength of distribution that the new product will ride, even the goodwill of the firm. So the market for the product should be large enough to give a required volume within a short period of time, taking advantages of the existing structure of the organization. Now, there's also some basic requirements of new products, also acceptance to the market. If a new product is not accepted, it's going to be a difficult one to penetrate or even sell. Its sustenance may not be guaranteed. The product should not require large capital investment in new machineries or new selling methods. Now, product management. Product management is the process of overseeing the development, the marketing, and life cycle of a product within a company. It involves identifying customer needs, defining product features, working with cross-functional teams, and ensuring the product meets market demand while aligning with the company's strategic objective. So this is what product management is all about. So what is the reason for product management? The first reason for product management is because changes occur within the customers are always requiring change. Customers want this, customer want that. So because of this constant change from customers, product management must be activated. Number two, changing technology. Of course, when technology changes, management must change how it attends to such product. Number three, profit. Because of profit, you may want to make more profit from such a product or adjust what you do so your product can bring in more profit margins. Number four, as a result of survival and growth. So this is another reason for product management is maximum utilization of resources. Of course, you may have looked around and you are not utilizing the entire resource you have, probably the physical resources, the technological resources you have, intellectual resources, and so you engage in product management. Then we have product planning. This can be another reason for product management, as well as assessment of product range. Now, what is your product strategies? What are the product strategies? The first product strategy is product positioning strategy. The second is product repositioning strategy. Of course, when you hear positioning and repositioning, it simply means that you've positioned already. Repositioning means that you are changing where you're positioned and you are taking a different position strategy. Number three, product overlap strategy. Now, the next is product scope strategy and the product design strategy and the product elimination strategy, the new product strategy and diversification strategy. We may come back to this later. Now, classification of products. Products can be classified into two, industrial and consumer product. The industrial products are those products that are meant to produce other products. They are installations, accessory equipment, raw materials, component parts, and so on. While consumer products, these are goods bought for both their values and for the satisfaction of emotional needs. For instance, we have convenience goods, shopping goods, specialty goods. Okay. Now, what is pricing policy? Pricing policy just comes after product policy. Price is the financial value attached to a product. So what's the objective of pricing? One, to maximize profits, to achieve a given or targeted return on invested capital or on net revenue. Another objective of pricing is to meet and follow competition and prevent competition. Another target or objective of pricing is stabilizing prices. Now, when you choose a particular price, of course, when we say meet and follow competition or prevent competition, sometimes you may reduce your price just to keep up with others for that is following competition. You can prevent competition by operating the market price. But sometimes you can even trigger the competition by engaging in a price war, and pricing can be an instrument for this. Another objective of pricing is to maintain the market share and to improve market share. Pricing policy techniques. The following are some of the pricing policies and techniques. One is cost plus pricing. Price discrimination. We're going to break these things down and give you the proper explanation for them. Probably in a subsequent class, let's just run through this particular series. Then we move into those other places. We'll go into more details for these ones that I'm telling you we're going to talk about later. Then we say price discrimination, target pricing, historical pricing, rapid payback pricing, range pricing, leader pricing, quality pricing, penetration pricing, competitive bidding pricing, and auctioning pricing. These are several pricing policies and techniques. External variables that influence pricing. Government can influence pricing through their policies. Competition can influence pricing. Of course, when we say government can influence pricing, it's because government has a way of affecting how people do business by their policies. I remember when rice was banned in the whole country, and foreign rice. Just that policy of banning rice in the entire country affected the pricing of the local rice. You see that, and that is government policy for you. Then we have competition. Competition can affect price. A newcomer into the market without understanding how things work can set its pricing, and such pricing can trigger a price war. So these are external variables that influence pricing. Competition. Some people come from outside and they influence pricing. Then customers can influence pricing. Economic environment can influence pricing. In an inflationary situation, prices just keep jumping and jumping and jumping. And in such cases, people can just arbitrarily increase price without even having any reason to, and without the product even increasing in price. They just do it because it's just a trend. Okay. Then we have resellers can affect pricing, suppliers can affect pricing or influence pricing, technology can influence pricing. Now, there's another concept we'll talk about at this point. Simplified situation and factor analysis in strategic management. Now, situational analysis. In bracket, you can see we are talking about the SWOT analysis, the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. This is the first process in strategy formulation. It seeks to answer the question, where are you? The end point of situational analysis is to strike a strategic balance between organizational strengths and weaknesses, and opportunities and threats in an interactive process called SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis helps an organization to weigh the opportunities and threats before it against the organization's capacity to meet these challenges. SWOT analysis also is about evaluating what an organization is in light of what an organization is in the light of what it can do either now or in the future. Now, we also have another concept, strategic factor analysis summary matrix. In short, we call it SFAS. SFAS is done for both external and internal environment. Below are some of the key sections of the SF, or the strategic factor analysis summary. Now, number one is key strategic factor. Depending on the nature of the organization, it consists or constitutes those variables that are related to the SWOT analysis of the organization. The second one is the weight. This refers to weights assigned to various factors in comparison with other factors. And then we have rating. This shows how the management is reacting to the strategic factors. So you could be rated high or low. High means you are reacting okay. Low, very low, means you are not reacting as required. Then we have weighted scores. This shows the result of the product being weighted or being weighted and rating of a particular factor in the strategic factor analysis summary. Then we have duration. Duration shows the time span of the action required in each factor. It can be short-term, medium-term, or long-term. Then we have comments. This shows the overall assessment of factors in question. Now, market segmentation and carving a niche. The end point of strategic factor analysis summary matrix is to segment market in search of a promising niche. Market segmentation is the process of isolating for purposes of study and proper understanding the various classes and groups in the entire client or customer groups. A niche, on the other hand, is a need in the marketplace that is not satisfied. So carving a niche is to find that part of the marketplace where its need has not been satisfied. Okay, let's move straight to business strategies. Business strategies aim at giving a competitive edge to a firm's product within the specific industry or market segment, which it has chosen for itself. There are two broad categories of business strategy. As we said, it is giving a competitive edge to a firm's product within the specific industry or market segment which it has chosen for itself. So if your product is weave on, phones, or whatever it is, you try to give your product that competitive edge so that it can have an edge in its chosen market. Now, there are two broad categories of business strategy. We have the competitive strategy and the cooperative strategy. Let's explain the competitive strategy first. The competitive strategy, this encourages a firm to battle to outwit other firms in the industry. So it's a competition. So it's not a cooperation. It's a battle. It's a battle. So now, to understand this clearly, let's go to Porter's competitive strategies. Michael Porter, the Harvard Business School professor, postulated three generic competitive strategies, and they are low-cost strategy, differentiating strategy, and focused niche strategy. Let's explain them briefly. The low-cost strategy, this is a strategy which aims at increasing market share through the designing, production, and marketing of similar products at a rate cheaper than those of competing organizations. This is often called penetrating pricing system or low-cost strategy. The differentiating strategy simply means or is aimed at staying on top through the provision of unique top value products. The parameters for measuring uniqueness are the design of your product, the special features your product carry, the quality of your product, packaging of that product, and or the sales services attached to that product. So it's called differentiating strategy. This strategy is more appropriate where the range of product choice for buyers is wide. So you have maybe biscuits. Customers have a wide range of biscuits to buy. So you have to differentiate your own, especially either by design, by the features, by the quality, by the packaging, by the sales. So that is differentiating strategy. Now we have focus niche. Focus niche strategy. This strategy seeks to excel by singling out a special segment of the market and satisfying it maximally. So you focus into a particular segment of the market. Segmentation in this case could be based on either the location or special product features and functions. One advantage of this strategy is that if properly done, competitors would find it difficult to challenge the pioneer because the segment may prove too small to accommodate other firms. So you go into that segment, go into that niche and take it over totally. Now, competitive tactics. Tactics is a specific operating plan which details how strategies are to be implemented. It defines activities and actions that will help to accomplish strategies in terms of where and when they will take place. It also ensures that resources are effectively utilized in accomplishing the grand design. Tactics, by their nature, are narrower in scope and shorter in time frame than strategies. So they're short-term actions and operational plans detailed to achieve a particular goal. Now, types of tactics. Types of tactics. We have timing tactics. This type seeks to answer the question of when to compete. There are basically two variants in terms of when to move into a market. Either you are first mover or you are among the latter movers. So you make up your mind the tactics, the timing tactics to adopt. Early movers, these are the innovators who break through the frontiers of the prevailing know-how to manufacture and sell new goods or services. They are the pioneers. They bring in things new to the market. They are early movers. Then we have late movers. These are business organizations that shy away from taking the risk of pioneering the production of a new product or introducing a new product. They imitate, adapt, and modify the product of the pioneers. Of course, you know, it has its own disadvantage. The second type of tactics is offensive tactics. This has to do with attacking the competitors. It is broken down into two. Okay, it is broken down into, it's not two, into frontal attack, flanking maneuver, bypass attack, encirclement. Encirclement. So let's explain them short, just briefly. Frontal attack, what does it really say? This approach is like taking the bull by the horn, employing the head-on confrontation approach. It seeks to match competition in every sphere, like price for price, product quality for product quality, promotion for promotion, distribution system for distribution. So it's a frontal attack. Now, the flanking maneuvering, this method tries to attack the competitor by going to the market areas where it is weak. So if you have an entire country to yourself, but the suburbs you are weak, but in the cities you are strong, the flanking maneuvering seems that your competitors head towards your weak ground, which is the suburbs. It takes careful study of the competitor's market performance to discover its weak areas and attack it in the places where it is most vulnerable. That's flanking maneuver. Now we have the bypass attack. This method seeks to gain advantage over an established competitor by changing the rules of the game and offering products or services which makes those of the competitors appear unnecessary. It's called the bypass attack. Then we have the encirclement. This flows from frontal attack or flank maneuvering. In this case, the attacking company encircles the competitor's position in of the product or market or both. So it targets the product of the competitor or the market of the product of the competitor. If it's by the market, it means that it can reach and serve more markets. It can reach and serve more markets effectively. If it's encircled by products, it means that it has higher quality and wider variety of products. Now, we also have the guerrilla warfare. Unlike the frontal attack or the flanking, which are expensive and ongoing, guerrilla warfare is ad hoc in nature and does not necessarily require superior resources. It tries to occasionally small intermittent assault on the different market segments held by the leading competitor. Okay, that is all about the offensive tactics. What about the defensive tactics? The defensive tactics, this aims at avoiding attacks completely where this is possible or reduce the intensity of an attack. The defending company will stop at nothing to sustain gained position, even if it means not going for a higher profit. In most cases, it tries to give the impression that an attack is unattractive and therefore a wasted effort. They use the following means to achieve their goals. One, raising structural barriers, increase expected retaliations, lower the inducement for attack, and so on and so forth. Now, these are all competitive strategy. Now, let's talk about the cooperative strategy as we begin to wind up, as we begin to shut down for today. Cooperative strategy, these have to do with the coming together of business units to form a concern that will be able to gain otherwise non-existent competitive advantage. Unlike competitive strategies, they seek to achieve corporate goals with less confrontation. What are the types of cooperative strategies that there are? The first is coalition. This is a cooperative strategy which encourages the coming together of firms producing similar products with a view to increasing prices through the regulation of product outcomes. Coalition may either be explicit or hidden. It is explicit when the communication links and interaction among the colluding firms are common knowledge. Hidden when the collusion is a hidden collusion when, or on the other hand, it can be a hidden collusion if those that are involved in it are discreet with what they have decided to do. Of course, when you go to the market, you will notice that some firms or some section of the market are practicing this level of collusion. They've decided what the price of the product is. No matter how you walk around the market, the prices will not change. If they say it's 10 naira, it's 10 naira everywhere. And that is what we call collusion. Now, factors that make effective collusion. Small number of identified competitors is one of the factors that can aid collusion. Once the competitors are few, they can collude. Number two, production costs are similar with little or no opportunity for cost advantages. Number three, one clear leader who sets the price benchmark. Number four, there is no buyer who purchases large quantities. Number five, there are high entry barriers in the industry. So all these are factors that make for effective collusion. Now, strategic alliance is another cooperative strategy. Strategic alliance is a more popular approach to cooperative strategy. It is the coming together of two or more firms to form partnerships that are mutually beneficial. It can come in short-term, medium-term, or permanent measures and acquisition. So now, factors that encourage strategic alliance. One of the factors that encourage strategic alliance is to obtain technical know-how and assistance. How is that? Of course, sometimes some organization, they know, let's say you're operating a farm and you have an agro-allied company that is interested in farming, but they can't farm. And you can farm, but you don't have the equipment to farm. So you can form a strategic alliance. And because they have the technical know-how of the use of the equipment, they can bring that in. And you, because you know the technical know-how of farming, you can bring that in, and that becomes a win-win situation. So one factor that can encourage technical alliance is to obtain one factor that can encourage strategic alliance is to obtain technical know-how and assistance. So that can cause people to align. And you can also, another factor is to gain access to wider markets. Another factor is to gain a competitive advantage and to act as a hedge against risk. Now, what are the types of strategic alliances? We have mergers and amalgamations. These are kind of business mergers. We have joint ventures where companies come together and form a joint venture so that they can exploit a particular opportunity. Then we have licensing agreement, and we have mutual service consortia. Now, let's talk about the strategies for managing change. Now, the first strategy for managing change is strategies for participation. These strategies aim at involving the people which the change will affect in deciding for the change. Second, the strategies of education and communication. This strategy is based on the assumption that people resist change mostly when they are not adequately intimated of the reason and the benefit of the change. So once people are educated, given adequate information on why they have to change, they will likely change. Then we have power strategies. This is a situation where compliance to change is gained through the manager's influence over his subordinate. And then the fourth is strategies of manipulation. This is a change strategy where the initiator carefully and tactfully use tactics, create situations so as to make subordinates feel enthusiastic about the change and comply to it. Then we also have strategy of negotiation. This is a strategy which seeks change by reconciling conflicting interests through dialogue and agreement. Interested parties are allowed to attain a reasonable cost-benefit compromise of the change effects. Then the sixth is a strategy of facilitation. This is a situation where the change is effected by creating the enabling environment for it to be carried out. It might involve new training programs, counseling, improving working conditions, workshops, and so on. Then the last is multiple strategies. This happens in a situation where two of the earlier strategies we just listed now are applied to deal with the change. One may begin with negotiation and later degenerate into manipulation. Another may begin with power strategy and later spice it up with facilitation strategy. So this is like a hybrid strategy that is called a multiple strategy. Okay, controlling and evaluating strategic management. The concept of controlling, this is the process of checking performance against standards to ensure there is no deviation and to put up a corrective measure. The process of controlling. The first process of controlling is establishment of the standard of performance. The second process of controlling is establishing measurement performance, a benchmark of measurement performance. The third is compare actual performance with standard. And then the fourth, corrective actions. Now, controlling and evaluating strategic management. For us to control and evaluate strategic management, there are a couple of controls that will be put in place. The first is the proactive control. This is a control method that is preventive. It foresees possible deviations and put things in place to nip them in the bud. So it tries to see futuristic. It can see things before they happen. Proactive control. The next, active control. This is also called steering or online control. It monitors activities while in progress. It tries to dictate deviations on time and effect corrections before the damage is done. That is the active control. We have the historic control. The historic control, this is a control process that waits until the entire activities take place before assessment. Okay? Now, having done that, let's talk about the quantitative measures of evaluating impact of strategic management. The quantitative measures. The first is basic traditional financial measurement or financial measures of performance. The most common financial measure of performance are return on investment. That is, if you set up an organization, from the return, when you invest some money and there's a return coming in, the profit that comes in, from the return on investment, you can now financially measure whether your organization is performing or not. So that is one of the measures. The other one is earning per share and then return on equity. These are basic traditional financial measures of performance, and they are quantitative. Another quantitative measure of evaluating impact of strategic management is budgetary control. In most cases, innovations carried out with, or can we put it this way, innovations carry with them budgets. Anytime you have an innovation, there's a budget attached, which gives management some confidence in operating such proposals. During evaluation and control, actual expenses and the variances are assessed. The level and the sources of variances determine the level of efficiency of the operators. Another quantitative measure of evaluating the impact of strategic management is responsibility centers. Establishing and evaluating responsibility centers help to ensure the evaluation of various segments of the organization, such as the functional areas, projects, and or divisions. Each responsibility center is allowed to operate a separate budget and is evaluated on the basis of how effective the budgets are utilized in achieving the goals set. During re-engineering, the performance of these responsibility centers become a yardstick for carrying out downsizing. Downsizing, when you want to reduce the number of people working, you check which responsibility center is functioning and which is not functioning. And that way you can downsize those that are not functioning. Now, the fourth is interpreting final accounts. This involves interpreting final accounts such as income statements and balance sheets. These documents help an evaluator see through how strategic management has impacted on the net worth and periodic income status of an organization. Of course, this income statement and balance sheet tells a story They are quantitative measures of evaluating impact of strategic management. Now, let's move on to quantitative method of measuring the impact of innovation. The first is benchmarking. This is the process of measuring products, services, and practice with those of the toughest companies recognized in an industry or as an industry leader. This technique proposes that we can evaluate the impact of innovation by matching the performance of the organization against prevailing standard of best practice. So if you produce roofing sheet, you go to the best, the highest producers of roofing sheet and compare yourself or compare your performance with them. That's called benchmarking. Then what's the process of benchmarking? The first is identify the area or process to be examined. The second is find the behavioral and output standard of the process or area of interest and obtain measurements. The third is select an accessible set of best-in-class competitors against which to benchmark. That is, you go to your industry and choose the best of the best against which you will be benchmarking your that area or that process you have identified. And the fourth is identify and ascertain the differences in the company's performance measurement against that of the benchmark competitor. Then we have investigate the reason behind the gaps and differences. Of course, when you carry out the identification and ascertainment of the differences between the company's performance measurement against that of the benchmark competitor, you will see some gap, you will observe some gap, you will observe some differences. Number 5 says you should investigate the reason behind the gaps, the reason behind the differences. And then number 6 says develop practical programs for closing that gaps. Number 7 says implement the programs that have been developed and compare them again with those of the benchmarks. Compare them with those of the benchmarks. Okay, now we have stakeholder measures, which is another way of looking at the impact of strategic management. It is to look at it from the perspective of various stakeholders. To do this effectively entails asking and answering a series of questions. And one of the questions is, how do investors and stakeholders see us as an organization? Number 2, how do customers view us since after implementing new strategies? Number 3, how does the society and community view us? Number 4, are we acting against the interest of the government? Number 5, are management and employees happy to implement the strategies? So these are stakeholder measures that you must look at in evaluating the impact of innovation. Now, lastly, before we should close for today, what are the features of a good evaluation? A good evaluation should be cost-effective. A good evaluation should be acceptable and easily implementable to most of the employees. A good evaluation should be strategic. A good evaluation must be long-term oriented. A good evaluation must be operated within a sound organizational structure. All right, that's a good evaluation. And then number 6, a good evaluation should have a control that must be timely in achieving what it hopes to achieve. Must be timely, and it should lead to reward of performance. It should lead to reward of performance. Okay, that's about it for today. For those that have attended to today's class. The attendance is open. I don't know. You can see the poll. I hope you can see it. You can feel it. This is the polls. I've set out the polls. I hope you'll just take the polls. Take the polls. I'm about to close. Okay. The polls will be shut down in a few minutes' time. All right. Now we are done with what I want to explain today generally. If you have a question, you can type it in the question section, or better still, you can switch to the platform, our social media platform, where we all have we are all members, and ask the question there, and then I will answer the question for all to get the answers. All right, that's about it for today. Thank you all for joining. You don't need to type your name and numbers in the chat box. It does not count for anything. Fill out the polls. I gave you a polls. There's an attendance there. Once you attend to it, you are good to go. Don't need to send me any message. I'll be closing it in a minute's time. So if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. In the absence of that question, I will be closing down this platform for now. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for coming, for joining. I can see a lot of you here, but I can't see your name, Joseph, Nonso, Emanuela, Chinenye. All right, you're all welcome. Thank you for joining. Ask